The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream. Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
It's Friday, you bastards.
Over the last month, the daily rate of vaccinations fell 60%. Vaccine hesitancy remains an issue in the U.S. Something Surgeon General Vivek Murthy blamed on COVID misinformation, which he declared a national health risk on Thursday.
It's painful for me to know that nearly every death we are seeing now from COVID-19 could have been prevented. I say that as someone who has lost 10 family members to COVID-19 and who wishes each and every day that they had had the opportunity to get vaccinated.
A Kaiser Family Foundation survey of unvaccinated adults found that 2/3 believed in at least one of several vaccine myths. The White House pointed to an aggressive online misinformation effort by a handful of bad actors.
There's about 12 people who are producing 65% of anti-vaccine misinformation on social media platforms.
That stat comes from a report by the Center for Countering Digital Hate, which is calling on social media companies to shut down those accounts and others like them entirely. Imran Ahmed is the group's CEO.
Look, social media has sort of transformed the way that all kinds of misinformation is spread. And you can test out thousands of different messages, seeing what works, what doesn't. The problem is that we're playing catch up. And in many respects, the tactics that they're using are more sophisticated. They're more devious than we've been able to keep up with.
So this is our issue, okay? This is our problem. Our problem is that you can't social distance from social media. And people are literally spreading disinformation at a rate that, well, you know, look, put it this way. We've always had nut jobs, okay? You've always had the guy with the sandwich board and the tinfoil hat walking up and down the street screaming, you know, the end is nigh, right? You know, whatever. Always had that guy, that girl, those crazies. What we didn't have was a sophisticated way for them to disseminate their sandwich board information. What we didn't have was social media that reacted to you liking that disinformation and then sending you more and more and more of it to make you believe you were onto something truthful, I'm telling you, if there was a treatment for stupid, these people would be in the ICU with a ventilator just to keep their IQ from dipping below normal. But we don't have that yet. All we have now is social media. And that's where this disinformation and misinformation and anti-vax information and suspicious information and bad information and generally bizarre information is being liked by others of the same ilk, from people who are literally sitting in their pajamas posting it. And it's killing us. I'm telling you, on Monday, I'm going to partner with an app for that. I swear to God, I already did it. And on Monday, we're going to start a campaign for ground beef, ground news. And it's an app. It's an important tool. What does it do? Okay, it doesn't just aggregate news. It doesn't just show you the news. It literally looks at the source of the news that you want to use, and it will tell you whether it's coming from the left, whether it's coming from the right, or if it's the center, or if it's science, or if it's bullcrap, or if it's social media, or if it's debunked, and it's real easy. It's just an app. It's free. You get it at Google Play. You can get it in the App Store. You just download it on your phone, and you'll see it has tools for you to use so that you can stop imbibing, indulging, eating, drinking, snorting, smoking fake freaking news. Because it's killing us. It's literally killing us. Misinformation about this virus, it can't be defeated by maintaining social distance because it's spread on social media. To keep yourself safe from misinformation, you would have to maintain social media distancing, and you won't do it. So, therefore, I'm going to give you a tool where you can run it through the grinder and see whether this is real or not. You cannot be paying attention to that idiot from high school who keeps ranting about vaccination brown shirts, brainwashing, and terrain theory. I mean, I see stuff that is literally hair-raising. And yesterday, Vivek Murthy, who is the Surgeon General of these United States, that's who was in that clip right there, and Jen Psaki, who is the communications director for the White House, held a massive dueling press conferences to talk to the American people about what is killing us, and what is killing us is disinformation and misinformation on just about every front, not just the virus of the virus, but the virus of disinformation and misinformation that is spreading among ye. Stuff that is radicalizing our own people into believing they have to overthrow their government to the point where the Joint Chiefs of Staff has to say, we can't follow illegal orders. Therefore, if the president orders the use of the military in a weird election coup scenario, we can't do it because it would be illegal. Of course, Fox News takes this Washington Post story that we delved into yesterday, where General Milley is saying to, Trump administration officials, to the Secretary of the Army, the Secretary of the Navy, the Secretary of the Air Force, and Marines, don't obey an illegal order. This president is literally going to have a Reichstag moment if he gets his druthers. And we cannot help him do that. It would be illegal. He's going to release brown shirts onto the streets in a reference to Hitler. And Fox News decides Mark Milley is unfit for duty.
So the question is, why is Mark Milley still in command of the U.S. military? This is not a small question. If what the Washington Post's reporters are reporting, it's a question we need to deal with right now.
Tucker, I understand that you were raised in a household that benefited from the Swanson frozen food dynastic money, and that you went to private school in rarefied air, and that you have absolutely no idea what service to this country requires. But you do take an oath to the Constitution, and that says that you protect and defend the United States from all enemies, foreign and domestic. And if you are in the military, you also take an oath that does not require you, and in fact, it requires you not to obey illegal orders. And if you do, it's not a defense, as we learned in the Nuremberg trials. Wow, this is a really sick, twisted channel. And it just literally keeps on insisting that crazy, insane people should be serving, and that constitutionally grounded people should not. Our former Secretary of Homeland Security and John Bolton, the former UN ambassador and former national security advisor to President Trump, were both on the TV last night saying that thank God for Milley. Thank God for him. He was the one person that stood between us and the loss of freedoms for God knows how long. Yes, Donald Trump would have unplugged the internet. Yes, he would have if he had a plan that included willing military, which he did not have, willing FBI directors, willing CIA directors, which he did not have. These were the pieces of the puzzle that were missing from his coup planning. But if he had had a few of those people be loyal to his ideology and not to the Constitution of these United States, and were willing to follow illegal orders, you best believe freedom would have been lost on January 6th. It would have just evaporated. And yes, the internet would have been unplugged, and we would be just like Cuba right freaking now, with other nations like the NATO alliance nations, like Germany and the Netherlands, and England, trying to figure out whether or not they had the technology to supply the United States with internet. Oh my God.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
Ironically, President Trump may have selected in General Milley, unwittingly, the right man for the moment. Someone who was prepared to stand up to his commander-in-chief to say, Mr. President, what you've ordered me to do is patently illegal. If he had, in fact, ordered some sort of coup or revolt by the military. And so I can't say I'm surprised. It is now well known that President Trump was fixated with figuring out a way to try to stay in office even after he had lost the Electoral College vote. So I can't say I'm surprised. I also have to say, never in my lifetime would I have imagined that we would have found ourselves in the situation we found ourselves in December and January of this year. Our democracy was put under a stress test. It survived, but it was put under a severe stress test.
It certainly was, by crazy people, by people who have traditionally been relegated to bus stations and subway trains. Now they're on social media, and they're literally organizing riots and coups and violence and overthrows of our own system of government. And they get retweets from passersby now, which is a new wrinkle in the crazy people's process. You know, I mean, it's just so you're so tempted to just tell these insurrectionists, these white supremacists, these crazy anti-vaxxers, just take a break and immerse yourself in something more, I don't know, psychologically healthy, like denying the moon landing like you used to, because they can't damage the moon and the moon isn't going to kill you. It's just going to make the tides rise and me angry once a month. Do you know what I'm saying? We're water. But this is so unbelievable. We have people that are literally inciting insurrections, a president who's insane, who does that too. They follow him. They retweet him. That's why he had to have his social media removed from the crazy people's ability to spread his disinformation. I mean, this is a guy who helped Warp Speed develop a vaccine for a coronavirus, a novel coronavirus, a new coronavirus. That's what novel means. We have had coronaviruses before, but we've not had COVID-19. And now we have COVID-19 Delta variant. And instead of people lining up, or instead of people saying, I'm just going to go to the CVS, I'm just going to go to the Publix, I'm just going to go to my Piggly Wiggly, I'm just going to go wherever, and I'm going to get the vaccine. You have people who are literally trying to tell people to die. And they're being retweeted and they're being supported on social media. And that is why yesterday we had all these people on TV talking about various subjects, everything from General Milley doing the right thing and not obeying an illegal order to use the military against our own government, all the way over to the anti-vax crowd, who are part of that same crowd, who are able to tell people false information, bad information, crazy information, so that they then become exposed to a completely preventable disease and die from it. LA has to go back to mask mandates today. Los Angeles has had an increase in cases, 1,000 a day increase over the last 2 days. I think yesterday they saw 1,537 cases. All of the people that are ending up in the hospital, all the people that are going to die from this virus now are unvaccinated people. 99% of people who are going to end up in the hospital and die it's because they chose not to get inoculated against a virus that is completely preventable. It's really sad. Arkansas, Missouri, Mississippi, they are the new ground zero for the pandemic. Rural Missouri is the new, you know, I mean, if you look at Brazil or you look at Iraq or you look at, you know, places like Tunisia, Northern Africa, you understand that they're being run by insane people. Okay, these governments, they're being run by lackluster people, people who aren't capable, people who don't have any ability to, you know, administer to the needs of their people. But what is the excuse for the United States of America? What is the excuse for our hotspots? That we used to have an insane president? That the insane president that you wish you would still have is not still the insane president? I don't even know. Your favorite crazy person is no longer the president, and so you're not going to get a vaccine. He invented the vaccine. Okay, you want to give credit? Give credit to Operation Warp Speed. Why? Because while we've had coronaviruses and while we've had mRNA technology, we were able to copy and paste the genome into the vaccine and get an effective vaccine in record time. This vaccine, if you literally look at it, it took 10 years to develop it. But people are being told, oh, they just invented it overnight, and so it's bad, and it's this, and it's that. That's just not true. And now you have people in Mississippi and Arkansas with crazy governors who took all the restrictions off, experiencing a new surge in COVID cases. So essentially, they're issuing guidelines now on how to survive the stupidity of right-wingers in rural states. Now, Los Angeles is reinstating their mask mandates because people aren't vaccinated, and only, I think, 70% of LA has gotten one dose. One dose is not going to keep you safe from the Delta variant, and that is why they had to reinstate mask mandates. People don't know what they're doing because of all this mis and disinformation. Now, I will say the anti-vax crowd has been incensed and freaked out ever since mask mandates and shutdowns. And now your insanity has led to more mask mandates and more shutdowns. Yay. If you want the pandemic to continue because you're really, really, really attached to flipping out generally as a rule, then just say so. We'll issue mask mandates just for you, so you can scream your little head off about it, so you can go into Target and yell at the people there. Tate Reeves in Mississippi. There are no restrictions in Mississippi. There aren't any. And you're not vaccinated. What did you think was going to happen? The state health department in Mississippi, the state health officer, his name is Dr. Thomas Dobbs. He said that he's recommending that people wear a mask when indoors in all public settings. He's recommending that all Mississippians 12 and over get vaccinated, and he's recommending that 65 and older and anybody with a chronic medical condition avoid all indoor gatherings.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
Today, I issued a Surgeon General's advisory on the dangers of health misinformation. Surgeon General advisories are reserved for urgent public health threats. And while those threats have often been related to what we eat, drink, and smoke, today we live in a world where misinformation poses an imminent and insidious threat to our nation's health. Health misinformation is false, inaccurate, or misleading information about health, according to the best evidence at the time. And while it often appears innocuous on social media apps, on retail sites, or search engines, the truth is that misinformation takes away our freedom to make informed decisions about our health and the health of our loved ones. During the COVID-19 pandemic, health misinformation has led people to resist wearing masks in high-risk settings. It's led them to turn down proven treatments and to choose not to get vaccinated. This has led to avoidable illnesses and death. Simply put, health information has cost us lives.
We're literally dying because of Twitter, Facebook, and YouTubes. We're literally dying from misinformation and disinformation. It's unbelievable. So I'm telling you that the state health officer in Mississippi, his name, I told you, Dr. Thomas Dobbs, he wasn't able to put any restrictions on anybody, just like we experienced in Tennessee this week, that their chief health officer in charge of vaccinations was simply sending out a memo to healthcare providers who had asked her a question about what to do if unaccompanied mature minors, meaning 16, 17, 15, came in and asked for a vaccine without a parent. And so she went to the general counsel in Tennessee, in the state, and said, what is the state's law regarding minors? And he said, since 1987, we've had the mature minor statute. It was adjudicated by the Supreme Court, and it says that a minor who is 15, 16, 17 and able to make decisions, who comes in unaccompanied by a parent, can request and receive a vaccine. And she not only was told to resign or be fired, and she chose to let them fire her, but they also sent her an Amazon package. I don't know if you're aware of this portion of this wonderful story of a healthcare professional in Tennessee who was told to be more political. And she said, I'm not a politician. I'm a freaking doctor. And I checked this out with the general counsel to find out what the law in our state is. And I just sent a memo. I'm not sitting in a van down by the river saying, hey, kids, gather round. I got vaccines for you. But she received a package prior to her demand to either resign or be fired. And in the package was a dog muzzle. A dog muzzle. Designed to send a message to her to shut up, muzzle herself. How sick and sad have we become? Who are we? I don't recognize us. I'm telling you, I've always known that there were crazy people among us, and I've always known that about a third of us have really sad racist feelings and are terrified of things they don't know. But I never thought that we would see a society that advocates for death. Don't you remember you were all on the street, the same freaky people? You were all on the street saying there would be death panels. There would be. If we passed health care and made it affordable in this country to people who don't get it through their workplace or are self-employed or are freelancers. You said that there would be death panels. Well, now you are the death panel. You are. If you're sharing or retweeting this this swill, this garbage, that the vaccine is not safe and efficacious, then you are part of a death panel. And, you know, you could choose not to get it. You can. But do you really need to be around others to infect them? Do you really need to be free to infect others? I say no. I say you're not free to infect others. Your rights, as I've said, begin and end where your nose begins and ends. And no, you don't have the right to go anywhere, anytime, indoors without a mask, unvaccinated, around others and children and vulnerable and people with underlying conditions. If you don't want the vaccine, you don't have to take it. We are a free country. However, businesses can now tell you you're not welcome here. Here's what the state health officer, Dr. Thomas Dobbs, said. This was his quote. He said, quote, at this pace, and given the sort of external dynamics that are in play here, we're going to remain vulnerable for a very long time. I don't think we're going to have a miraculous increase in our vaccination rate over the next few weeks, so people are going to die needlessly. And so when we look at who our most vulnerable people are, it's going to be people 65 and older who have chronic medical issues. And he said that the reason why he was putting out recommendations, he can't mandate anything because your governor in Mississippi, Tate Reeves, is a psycho who is loyal to an ideology more than he and more interested in power than he is interested in your health and safety and well-being. Okay, he said Mississippians collectively have not done what it takes to protect us all. You won't do what it takes. You just want to thank other people for their service and sacrifice, but you won't do what it takes. What a sick and twisted bunch you are. So sad. And you know, it's literally 12 people who are promoting 65% of the misinformation. Swear to God, it's 12 anti-vaxxers who understand the internets, who understand social media. They have multiple accounts. They pose as other people, and they just keep putting this misinformation and disinformation out there.
There's about 12 people who are producing 65% of anti-vaccine misinformation on social media platforms. All of them remain active on Facebook, despite some even being banned on other platforms, including Facebook, ones that Facebook owns.
Instagram.
Third, it's important to take faster action against harmful posts. As you all know, information travels quite quickly on social media platforms. Sometimes it's not accurate, and Facebook needs to move more quickly to remove harmful, violative posts. Posts that will be within their policies for removal often remain up for days. That's too long. The information spreads too quickly. Finally, we have proposed they promote quality information sources in their feed algorithm. Facebook has repeatedly shown that they have the leverage to promote quality information. We've seen them effectively do this in their algorithm over low quality information, and they've chosen not to use it in this case.
This is unbelievable. And you know, in order to disseminate all this bad information, you have to pay to do it. You have to boost your post. You have to put money behind it. Wow.
Clear for takeoff. This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
Modern technology companies have enabled misinformation to poison our information environment with little accountability to their users. They've allowed people who intentionally spread misinformation, what we call disinformation, to have extraordinary reach. They've designed product features, such as like buttons, that reward us for sharing emotionally charged content, not accurate content. And their algorithms tend to give us more of what we click on, pulling us deeper and deeper into a well of misinformation.
Seriously, it is a virus too, this disinformation, misinformation, propaganda. You have entire news channels that get to brand themselves news to propound and perpetuate disinformation, misinformation, bad information, stupid things, hateful things, emotional things, instead of dealing with science as it is, as they found it, as they know it to be. I mean, if you want the pandemic to continue, keep doing what you're doing, which is nothing that you must do to protect others. Just keep doing it. I mean, here is my prayer, okay? It's Friday. Here is my Shabbos prayer for everybody. Don't be as stupid as your governor, red states. I swear to God, you have your chief health officers in all these states, Tennessee, Mississippi, Arkansas, Missouri, saying, what can you do? We're Missouri. What can you do? We're Mississippi. We're going to be dead last all the time. And you are dead last, Mississippi. You're dead last in vaccinations. It's just like they're there. You have people in Iraq who are literally without any vaccinations. 1% of Iraqis have been inoculated. 1%. Guess who they are? Guess. It's not you, right? It's not the people on the street. But I mean, it's just so and Brazil. Okay, you got an insane president over there. That's explainable. What is the deal? Hey, we're the United States. What can you do? What can you do? We'd rather be poisoned and die John in Florida.
Hi.
Hey.
You're not going to probably like anything I have to say, but...
well, if it's true, we could debate it. If it's false, I won't even tolerate it, so...
Oh, no problem. First of all, Dr. Fauci's emails, he admits in the emails that masks are worthless.
Okay, that was at the beginning, and information changed, and so did his recommendations.
Well, the other thing is, Biden had the goal of getting 70% of Americans vaccinated by the 4th of July, and that did not happen.
Correct.
And because of that, now all of a sudden there's this whole fear tactic about this new variant that is really hitting people hard.
Yeah.
When we have evidence all through this whole pandemic that the numbers are fudged, when hospitals get paid more money to claim someone has COVID.
Okay, that's not true. That's not true.
Yes, it is.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
No, it isn't.
Anyway, there is video evidence of Illinois health secretary standing next to the governor, which I used to be from Chicago, so I watched it. And she admitted that anyone that has the virus in them, whatever they die from, if the virus is in them, they call it a COVID death.
That's not true either.
Yes, it is. It's
no,
on
it isn't.
video.
No, it's not.
All right. See, we can't have this discussion.
No, we can't because you're literally getting your crap from Facebook.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are. Okay, tell me where you got any of this information. Just cite a source. Any of it.
Cite a source?
Yeah.
Say talk radio.
I rest my case. This is what I'm talking about. People would rather believe that Fauci is this horrible, poisonous liar who lied about the efficacy of masks to control you. like that's what it's going to take to control you. You're out of control because of masks. So that didn't work. When information changes, the recommendations also change. When vaccines are available, information changes to actually accommodate the fact that you now have a totally preventable virus on your hands. Stop making crap up and stop. I'm telling you right now, that's why we put homework out for free every single day. So you can see what sources I'm relying on to say what I say. I say it every day and have said it for 20 years. Do not believe a word I say. Look it up. Look it up. Why do I say that? Because I know the company I keep on talk freaking radio. And they're a bunch of lunatic, fringy freaks. You think I didn't listen to WJNO on my way in here today to see what the hell they were saying on AM talk radio today? You'd be wrong. I heard the same crap you heard because I put it on in my car with all the static and everything else just to know what the hell you were ingesting. And it's pure freaking poison. You are taking advice from a former administration that literally told you to put UV lights inside your body and drink bleach. What's wrong with you? Tim in West Virginia.
Yes. Yeah, I was just wondering why these all these 501c3s, why they don't ever put any money to anything that ever does anything.
What are you talking about?
That
501c3s
they
are
should
charities.
They should be able to put
501c. Okay, thank you. I don't know. To be exempt under Section 501c3 of our tax code, you have to be an organization that is organized and operated for the benefit of someone else. It cannot inure to a private investor, individual. It's a charity. Larry in L.A.
Hi. I own a children's dance studio in Orange County and Los Angeles, and I'd say at least 5 times a week I get harassed by parents about the mask mandate in California. And my favorite one was this past week where I was called a effing coward for
because you don't want to die and you don't want to expose children to a virus.
I also don't want to expose my employees. I mean, all my students are under the age of 12, so 0 of them are vaccinated.
Right.
And there's 4 groups of people that up until this Saturday need to wear a mask. K through 12, youth activities indoors, public transportation, and health settings. It couldn't be more clear.
No, it couldn't be more clear. But you know, these people are being fed a steady diet of crap, of garbage, of mung, of literal poison.
It's really sad. What's even worse, I'm not in every studio every day, and my poor teachers have to deal with this crap.
Yeah, it's horrible. I mean, to be a front-facing business in this environment is just really dangerous and scary and horrible, because Americans who are propagandized, who are full of poison and venom, do get violent, and it's its own apocalypse. It's its own, zombie apocalypse in its own weird way. It's like this virus gets inside their brain called misinformation, which is as dangerous as a shooter. Do you know what I mean? It's just because they will hurt you, they will hit you, they will infect you, they will cause you to die. And it's just amazing that they would rather be on that side than they would on the side of science that clearly says no one needs to die anymore from this virus.
We were shut down by the state of California because of the nature of our business from March of 2020 to March of 2021, and thankfully we're still alive. And these parents know that, and yet they're still torturing us. I just don't get it.
Well, they're indecent. That's why you don't get it. You're not indecent. You don't recognize it as a trait that you would deploy against another. And that's why it's always so shocking, but not surprising, when people demonstrate these really negative, violent, obnoxious, in-your-face, bizarre traits. I always say, that people are taken aback by the cruelty of others because we're not generally cruel.
I mean, we just have to constantly take the high road.
Right. And do the right thing when no one's looking. That is the golden rule as far as I'm concerned, But it's always upsetting when people demonstrate disregard for human life. Okay? It just is. Because generally, here in these United States, we are a good and decent people. And indecency and poisonous violence is always off-putting.
Mary had a little man.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
What's your message to platforms like Facebook?
They're killing people. I mean, look, the only pandemic we have is among the unvaccinated. And they're killing people.
Wow. That was just a few minutes ago. Joe Biden out in front of the White House. What's your message to Facebook and other platforms that promote misinformation? They're killing people. The only pandemic we have is among unvaccinated people. Let me just say this. The COVID vaccine is 95% effective, depending on which one you got. The one in Johnson, the very modern Moderna, or the Pfizer, right? So high protection. But it's not 100%, so you're going to get what they're calling breakthrough infections. But most of those infections are asymptomatic and not severe, don't cause hospitalizations. And if you don't have underlying health issues, massive, vulnerabilities, no death. Oh, I don't want that. I want to line up to expose myself to death. I want to feel what if it... Are you insane? This is a real question. Are you insane to believe crap that has consistently, repeatedly, evidentiary evidence? Okay, there's real evidence for what I'm about to say. Why do you believe the same mouthpieces, the same people who have been wrong about everything over the last 20 years? Everything. Wrong about invading Iraq. Wrong about invading Afghanistan. Wrong about voting and fraud and rigged. Wrong about climate change. It's not real. Wrong about health care. There'd be death panels. Wrong about the tax code that rewards money making money over your work making money. Wrong about home ownership. Wrong about appraisals on homes. And you don't have to have a crappy house when you're a first-time homeowner. Wrong about the economy. Wrong about trickle down. Wrong about everything they have brainwashed you into believing. You know why they do it? So that you will advocate against yourself. You will actually say, I don't want the tax code to reflect work. I don't want the tax code to reflect money making. I want the rich people to have their money, make money, and be taxed at a lower rate than me going to work every day to make money. I mean, they have been telling you lies for 20 years. Climate change. Why have they been telling you there is no such thing as human contributions to climate change and that it's not a real thing? Why have they been telling that? Because their donors are the fossil fuel industry. And in exchange for getting you to advocate for hotter temperatures, for more wildfires, to heat waves, to flooding, to hurricanes being stronger, more severe, and more frequent, they've been giving subsidies to their donors on the front end and tax breaks on their pollution on the back end. Oh my God, why do you believe people who have consistently, demonstrably, evidentiary evidence exist? I mean, like real facts exist to show that they have been wrong about everything that they have brainwashed you to believe. Everything. You have a few disinformation super spreaders out there who are brainwashing you to risk your life to keep the economic experiment going when you don't have to risk anything anymore because we have a vaccine. And I'm just gonna play Admiral Giroir. Remember Admiral Giroir? He was in charge of testing, which miserably failed. Now he's got this bipartisan message, and I'll play it only because it's true.
You know, I'm very concerned. I think people who support Trump and conservative Republicans, remember, this was developed under the Trump administration. Operation Warp Speed was a tremendous success.
Would not have happened without you. Would never have happened. I know the story from the inside.
And the Biden administration has taken the baton and done a really good job in distributing and accelerating and getting it globally. So this is a bipartisan win. Don't make it a political game because thousands of lives are at stake, particularly with the variants, which are much more contagious. And I believe the data are beginning to show that natural immunity, although it's good against the basic strains, are not so good against Delta. So people who were infected, I believe, are going to be highly likely susceptible to Delta and new variants. So this could be a wheel that starts turning all over again. Trust me, we don't want to be there again. We have the capability to stomp this out. Every person in this country should feel blessed to have these types of vaccines and the access that's been provided by both administrations. And I would urge everyone for whom the vaccine is authorized to please take it for your sake and the sake of your family.
Can't get more Republican than him. Can't get more Trump supporting than him. Now, you know what's interesting? Everyone who's telling you not to take the vaccine, they're all vaccinated. Now, why would that be? Why would it be that Donald Trump and his entire freaking family is vaccinated, and he's telling you the vaccines are something you shouldn't have? Or Admiral Giroir, who's vaccinated, or, Senator Ron Johnson, who's vaccinated, or Ronnie Jackson, Donald Trump's lying doctor who went up and down Air Force One handing out Provigil to reporters to wake them up, and Lunesta to reporters to put them to sleep, or Ambien to put them to sleep. Okay, Dr. Feelgood, who then was drummed out of the White House, okay, for lying about he's a perfect freaking physical specimen, Donald Trump is. He weighs 240 pounds. Yeah, right. My pinky weighs 240 pounds if Donald Trump weighs 240 pounds, right? And that his diet of burnt steak and ketchup and fast food didn't cause any, heart, problems, where obviously he's got, sclerosis of the arteries, right? I mean, anyway, he's now a congressman from Texas, Ronnie Jackson, Dr. Ronnie Jackson is, and he's vaccinated, telling you not to get the vaccine. Why would that be? It's so sick and sad. We put together a mashup of them just sitting there saying these ridiculous things. I don't know which one it is. I don't know. I'll play it later. Jim in Las Vegas.
Randy, long time, few times. Anyhow, I belong to an organization called Couchsurfing.org, and I host people from all other countries. I had a kid 2 weeks ago from Colombia, South America, didn't speak a word of English, and I don't speak a word of Spanish. Thank God for cell phones and translator apps. This kid's one mission, 26 years old. Most people come here to party and go to bars. His one mission was to get vaccinated. And he arrived at my house about 9 o'clock at night. It was dark. He stayed in my guest room. The next morning, he got up and he walked around town, and he came home with a Band-Aid on his arm, and he smacked it. He was smiling from ear to ear because he got vaccinated at CVS Pharmacy for no money. All he had to do was show his ID.
Right. Yeah, people have a buffet of choices in the United States, and they're just a bunch of spoiled, rotten, brainwashed fools. A buffet of choices await ye. Go get a vaccine.
All things Randy at RandyRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
President Trump deserves a lot of credit to produce a vaccine while it was being tested and approved. So now once it's approved, it can start shipping immediately. So that was a brilliant operation from my standpoint, and I hope it is as safe and effective as it certainly seems to be.
We are all pro-vaccine. But again, just because the vaccine is generally safe doesn't mean that it's 100% safe.
I want to contribute to building up that herd immunity, and so I'm going to do the responsible thing. I'm probably going to get the vaccine and move on. So I'm not opposed to it. Let's not lose sight of the fact that this is still an experimental vaccine being used under emergency use authorization. The federal government does not have the right to tell Americans that they have to get this vaccine, and it's none of their business who's had it and who hasn't had it.
The one thing that could save us and could really help us, and that's the vaccine. I've been a big proponent of releasing it early. I think that we've had enough safety and effectiveness data.
And as soon as we get the vaccine, we're going to get out of this in a rapid fashion. And all I would say to government officials is let's get the vaccine out as soon as we can.
Some have both had the disease and the vaccine, but we should study that also, because we would want to know, is the vaccine more dangerous, or are you more likely to have serious side effects? And one dose may be enough, but also maybe 0 doses is enough.
So interesting, isn't it? All because Donald Trump was president, so they were for it before they were against it. Now that Biden is president, and you need to be scared of it. You need to be scared. They're all vaccinated. Every single one of them is vaccinated. Donald Trump doesn't want your kids vaccinated. He went on Maria Bartiromo's show and sat there and said, "Oh, I wouldn't vaccinate kids. I wouldn't do that. I just, unbelievable." Jacqueline in L.A.
Hey, Randy. I think you're kind of disregarding the other elephant in the room about these anti-vaxxers, which is this religious kind of death cult. Quick anecdote here in liberal Los Angeles. I was at Home Depot the other day. Nice young man. We were talking. He was working there. And it got onto the vaccine because I was wearing my I'm vaccinated bracelet. He remarked upon it. And I said, so you're vaccinated, right? He's like, oh, no, God will protect me. Okay, this is in Los Angeles, and he's not the first person I've heard to say that. It's really kind of a death cult. I'm not talking about the people who are behind the scenes. I'm talking about the God, guns, and gays people that Obama referred to, who vote against their own best interests and will even die against, of course, their own best interests just because of that crazy death cult.
This is an example of what you're talking about. This is Pastor Rodney Howard Brown talking to his audience. By the way, it's a tax-exempt church passing disinformation, okay?
You vaccinate yourself, shoot up all you want to. Listen, people are smoking weed and snorting cocaine. Do whatever. But just because you do it doesn't mean to say you have to force anybody else to do it. There's no way that an unvaccinated person who has a healthy immune system is going to be spreading any virus. It doesn't work that way. That's not how it spreads. It spreads from people that are infected and that are sickly.
Yeah, well, healthy immune system, ask Bill Maher about that. How'd that work out for him?
You know, the whole thing is you're healthy until you're sick. That's how health works. You're very healthy until you're not healthy. That means you're sick. Also, this is a scary thing because asymptomatic people, carriers, children, okay, anybody, any host at all, could have this virus, no symptoms whatsoever, and give it to someone else. That's why masking. That's why vaccines now that we have them. That's why testing. You know how many hours I did on testing and how we need everybody to get tested so they would know if they had it, because you don't know if you have it. If you have it and you're asymptomatic, you don't know.
But God will protect me, Randy. God will protect me.
Listen, God created all the botanicals that go into medicine too. God created poppies, which produce opium. God created mold, which is antibiotics, okay? God created scientists. God created medicine. God created a lot of things. This reminds me of that old parable. I forget exactly how it goes, but you can look it up, where there's a guy and he's, asking God, why did you forsake me? And he goes, what do you mean? Right. And he said, well, here I am in the middle of this flood and I can't get out. And he said, but yesterday, there was this random boat, and the day before was an airplane, and the day before. He said, and God said, I sent those to you to get out, and you didn't want to, now you're complaining to me? I sent you everything. You know what I mean?
God helps those who help themselves, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I don't understand this God thing. And, whenever I get into it with somebody who thinks that they know the will of God, or the really scary people, not the people who talk to God, they don't frighten me at all. The people who hear God, the people who think God talks to them, those people freak me out. Okay, and they say in the end, when you have this conversation with them about how God created science and God created medicine and God created doctors, they say, I'll pray for you. It's time to just walk away, but make sure you're wearing a mask. Chris in Alabama.
So, hi, Randy.
Hey.
So you're for this deal on the public media that they control this so-called misinformation. You're okay with them doing this? You're okay with them taking over Facebook?
Who?
The government.
The government? The government isn't going to take over private business.
They're not going to take over Facebook?
Just like they didn't take over radio.
With the so-called misinformation? With the so-called misinformation? What was misinforming about the minister you just had up there?
He said that healthy people don't spread COVID. I don't even know what the hell he's talking about.
I'm a healthy person. I didn't get the vaccine, and I'm not going to get it.
That's your choice. Just stay away from me.
Okay, so what's so wrong with it?
Okay, so here's what has to happen now. So here's what has to happen now.
Show me one example of the former president
stop yelling
saying not
at me.
to get the vaccine.
Stop it.
Yeah. Well, you're yelling.
I'm yelling over you because you won't stop talking.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I think you and Rachel Maddow should get a room.
So no one's taking over Facebook. They're telling Facebook no.
Okay.
Okay.
You keep thinking.
There you go.
They just can't stop talking long enough to actually get the truth. Bottom line.
No one's taking over Facebook. What they are saying to Facebook is that when the CDC's information or when medical professionals' information is being disregarded, or when you have fake accounts who for money, clicks per million, for money, are putting disinformation out, that they label it as disinformation. Now, you're all for putting labels on movies that have violence or nudity. You're all for labels on rap music that might contain profanity, but you're not for labeling bad information as bad information. That to you is a government takeover. There's something wrong with you. Something's wrong with your logic and your perception.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
To distribute the vaccine, particularly outside of nursing homes and hospitals, out into the community as a whole, did not really exist when we came into the White House. As everyone American has seen, the way in which people get vaccine is chaotic. It's very limited. We've seen this factor all over the country where millions of doses have been distributed. About half of that has been given out. So
that was at the beginning. That was Ron Klain, the chief of staff to President Biden, talking about how when he came into office, there was no plan to distribute vaccines. Like none. And now you have them, and you're calling me from Alabama, telling me you don't want a vaccine. You'd rather just take your chances with a deadly virus. You'd rather take your chances being a carrier of this deadly virus and passing it on to somebody without ever knowing that you had it. And then you want me to applaud you for something. That's not going to happen. That makes no sense to me. The vaccine is safe. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't kill anybody. But you won't do what you need to do to protect other people, let alone yourself. So you have no self-worth. You have no self-preservation instinct. You have no ability to protect others around you or a desire to do that. And I'm supposed to react in some way that placates you or tells you you're doing the right thing? That's not going to happen because it's the wrong thing. Healthy people get very sick from COVID. Healthy people get COVID and don't know they have COVID and pass it to other people. It's an insidious thing, and it's totally preventable. And you don't want to do what needs to be done. And somehow I'm supposed to say, yeah, you're a real American. I'm so glad I have you as a neighbor. I'm so glad I live in your community. Come into my store. You don't want to wear a mask. You don't want to vaccinate. You don't want to do any of these things. But I'm supposed to tell you that's good. I'm with you. I'm down with your plan, which is no plan. You understand that's why we mandate that you have to have car insurance, right? Because guys like you, I'm a good driver, nothing will ever happen to me, would go without car insurance and then cause somebody else to have to pay for your damage. It's who you are. It's what you do. Valerie in Oklahoma. Oh, Oklahoma. You're not vaccinated, are you? Oh, she's not even there. Okay. Greg in South Carolina. What happened to the phone?
Just wanted to
make a couple comments to the guy who gets his reliable sources.
Talk radio, yeah.
Right? First of all, he just demonstrated a technique they use where they kind of twist a little grain of truth, right? Where he said that Fauci's emails, Dr. Fauci, his emails said that
masks were useless.
Yeah, that they were useless. And of course, Dr. Fauci never, ever said that. The only time he spoke out against everybody wearing masks was when, idiot boy president refused to do anything to get more masks to the medical workers who needed them the most. And, he was afraid there would be a shortage if everybody ran out and bought masks.
Dr. Fauci also has said, because he's been asked this question by legitimate media, he's been asked this over and over again by the Washington Post, the New York Times, news anchors all across the media, except for Fox, who won't have him on. He has said that as information came in, his opinion about mask usage changed, as it's supposed to, with scientific evidence, showing the efficacy.
Works, right?
Yes. And he said at the beginning he was very nervous that healthcare professionals would have their masks bought up by the population and that they, on the front lines, would be without PPE, which did happen. But he also said that he hadn't seen evidence that masks actually prevented the transmission until he did. And when he did, he said, wear a mask.
Right. And if I may say one other thing, and I know I'm saying something that you've been saying for the last hour and 45 minutes here, you have to ask that guy who's listening to the talk radio, if these are the same people, like you used the same example before, if these are the same people who said, oh my God, Obamacare is going to destroy our society, it's going to kill jobs, they're going to pull the plug on your grandma, death penalty, blah, 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 blah. And you know that all that, now we all know that all of that was all a lie.
They're the same people that wanted
tuning in.
They're the same people. They're the same people that put flags in their cars, on their car antennas and their windows and all this, and they wanted us to invade Iraq. Okay, and I sat in my chair on talk radio surrounded by lunatic friends, by Rush Limbaugh and Sean Hannity and all those freaking liars that were like, there's weapons of mass destruction. And all these people with their flags and their patriotism, let's invade Iraq. Let's kill 1 million unarmed Iraqis. And I was sitting there saying, this is stupid. The inspectors were in there. There are no weapons of mass destruction. There are no mobile laboratories. There's no anthrax factory. Nothing. None of that is true. And they told me I was a liar and this had to be done. And they were questioning my patriotism, people who had never served. And they were wrong. And it's been like that since the impeachment of Bill Clinton, okay? They've been wrong about everything. Everything. And people still listen to them as if none of that matters, as if getting it right in massive issues of life and death, war and peace, doesn't matter. They could be wrong over and over and over and over, as long as they play to the rage and the disaffection and the fear and all this stuff. This is what talk radio on the right does. And it's thousands of hours of this. Thousands of hours of that. All day, every day on talk radio and on talk television. Just playing to people who like the feeling of being angry and outraged and pissed off and scared and fearful and all that. I mean, it's just like, either you're with us or you're against us, flying their stupid flags as if America shouldn't have a congressional vote on whether to take this country to war. No, the unitary executive. No, the president has the power. Not according to the Constitution. Oh, screw the Constitution. We have to invade Iraq. Wow. Listen, if I were you, I would turn off all the people that told you going into Iraq was a good idea. I would turn off all the people that told you that Bill Clinton needed to be impeached for having a consensual affair. I would turn off all the people that are trying to get you to not vote, not get vaxxed, because they're wrong.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
All right, for my friend in Alabama who needs some truth, who needs some facts, I'm going to play you just a few seconds of Jen Psaki, White House press secretary, telling you what Facebook should be doing in order to stop the poisonous, venomous disinformation campaign that is killing Americans. And no, you will not hear her, or you will not see her, or get any idea. She is not going to insinuate in any way, shape, or form anything except compliance with going after disinformation. The government is not taking over Facebook. Okay.
There are also proposed changes that we have made to social media platforms, including Facebook. And those specifically are 4 key steps. One, that they measure and publicly share the impact of misinformation on their platform.
Okay.
Facebook should provide publicly and transparently data on the reach of COVID vaccine misinformation, not just engagement, but the reach of the misinformation and the audience that it's reaching. That will help us ensure we're getting accurate information to people. This should be provided not just to researchers, but to the public, so that the public knows and understands what is accurate and inaccurate. Second, that we have proposed that they create a robust enforcement strategy that bridges their properties and provides transparency about the rules.
I didn't hear her say the government is taking over Facebook, or we're going to buy Facebook, or it's going to go to taxpayers, or it's going to be privatized, publicized, made public. I don't know. I don't know what the hell fantasy you have, but that is not anything that the White House proposed. What they found out was that there are 12 people, and if you go to my homework section, which could be helpful to you, you will see in the homework section a report that clearly shows the 12 people who are responsible for 65% of the mis and disinformation about vaccines. Okay, you will see a document in the homework. You can click on it, and the document has the names of these 12 people. I don't. It's the executive summary. It's long. I'm warning you right now. The document is 40 pages. It's long, but somebody's got to read it, so I do. And it's they call them the Disinformation Dozen. They are 12 anti-vaxxers who play very leading roles in spreading digital misinformation and disinformation about COVID vaccines. And their names are there. Their names are on the Disinformation Dozen, are responsible for up to 65% of anti-vaccine content page. 1, 2, 3. This is the page, and you can see. Here, see, there's names there. And those are the 12 people, and they're anti-vaxxers, and they are responsible. Now, how did they come to this conclusion? Well, there was an analysis done of 812. Thank you. There was an analysis done of 812,000 posts extracted from Facebook and Twitter between February 1st and March 16th of 2021. And it shows that 65% of anti-vaccine content is attributable to the Disinformation Dozen. While many people do share and spread this content on social media, the content that you are sharing comes from a very limited range of sources. Okay?
there's about 12 people who are producing 65% of anti-vaccine misinformation on social media platforms. All of them remain active on Facebook, despite some even being banned on other platforms, including Facebook, ones that Facebook owns. Third, it's important to take faster action against harmful posts. As you all know, information travels quite quickly on social media platforms. Sometimes it's not accurate, and Facebook needs to move more quickly to remove harmful, violative posts. Posts that will be within their policies for removal often remain up for days. That's too long. The information spreads too quickly. Finally, we have proposed they promote quality information sources in their feed algorithm. Facebook has repeatedly shown that they have the leverage to promote quality information. We've seen them effectively do this in their algorithm over low quality information, and they've chosen not to use it in this case, and that's certainly an area that would have an impact. So these are certainly the proposals. We engage with them regularly, and they certainly understand what our asks are.
Ooh, Alabama. Ooh, scary stuff, right? Promote quality information instead of promoting low quality information because you like low quality information. Ooh, that's scary. Measure the data, measure the reach of bad information and make it public. Tell everybody what she just told everybody from the White House podium yesterday, that there is a very small group of anti-vaxxers who put a lot of money behind their anti-vax, low-quality bullcrap information and spread it all around social media to the point where they get banned from certain platforms, but Facebook doesn't do anything about their crap information. So the White House, asks that Facebook remove low-quality information. Oh, my God, they're taking over Facebook. That's why I say I have a problem with your intellectual capacity and your logical skills. Maybe you're just rusty. Maybe you're just used to being fed a steady diet of bullcrap and you can't figure your way out of a paper bag anymore. But I would suggest that you listen to the words people are saying. Her word was, we recommended to Facebook 4 things. Measure the reach of the bad information. Tell us how many people are receiving this bad information. Then share that data, and not just with experts, but with the public. Let the public know how many people were reached with low quality information. Once you know the answer to that question, limit the availability of low quality information, which your algorithm can certainly do, and instead promote high quality information, like information from medical professionals, like that. And then remove these people from your platform, as have other platforms removed them. Terrible. Oh, frightening. Valerie in Oklahoma. Oh, hi.
Oh, hi. Don't cut me off, okay?
Can't promise.
Oh, okay. Well, first of all, I have been vaccinated. I think when you first started talking, you said, oh, Oklahoma, she's probably not vaccinated.
You got a very low vaccination rate there.
I did.
Well, I'm glad you did, but you have a very low vaccination rate as a state.
Oh, as a state. Oh,
yes,
okay.
yes, yes.
Okay. I thought you meant the dosage or something.
No.
Okay. No, I got vaccinated, and I listen to your show, sometimes and everything. But my question is, and I kind of want to ask some of my friends this too, if Donald Trump was still in office, would you still be pushing the vaccine?
If he had a plan to distribute it, and it was researched by Johns Hopkins and the CDC and the National Institutes of Health, who all have the same people that were there when Trump was there, and they all told me it was safe and effective, yes. If they didn't, or if he was muzzling them, or if he didn't have a plan to distribute, it wouldn't even be a question. And he didn't. When he left, there was no plan to distribute, so.
Okay. Well, I was just wondering that because it just seems like a lot of people, well, not a lot of people, but most liberals just, can't stand him and anything.
We can't stand him because he's an autocrat. He's a demagogue. He says he alone can fix it because he's anti-constitutional, because he wanted to rig an election, because for months he told everybody that the only way he could lose was if the election was rigged, which was disgusting. And then he actually asked people to walk to the Capitol and take back their government with force. He said, weak people, we need to be tough and strong, and you need to go kick some ass. I'm sorry.
Oh, I don't think he said that.
Oh, he did.
He didn't say kick some
No,
blank.
He just shared a stage with a guy from the House of Representatives who said it's time to kick some ass and didn't bother to say, oh, no, we don't get violent. And he sat in the Oval Office, remember, watching it on television, and never stood up to a microphone and said, stop it.